Greetings, I am Sean Redman, aka the cheesily named Darth Shawn, and Rebels Season 2 began, the official beginning of Rebels Season 2. Not the movie Siege of Lothal, but the first episode we get in this 22 episode season, The Lost Commanders. This first episode, The Lost Commanders, sees Ahsoka Tano sending the Rebels crew off to find former clone troopers Rex, Gregor, and Wolf. Anyone that's watched the Clone Wars is going to be very familiar with Captain Rex, as he was the main clone trooper that we saw throughout the series, interacting with Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka quite a bit. And this is a really good start to the season. It's a lot of setup. This episode is a lot of setup, but it's starting to go places. You can see a lot going forward. And similarly to what we saw in Season 1 of Rebels, a lot of the early season episodes were setup episodes that had tremendous payoff later in the season. So while not a lot happens in this episode, it definitely shows a lot of setup that I think is going to probably have a pretty good sized payoff. Now, from the trailers, it was pretty clear Ahsoka Tano was going to kind of come in and out of the story, and probably pretty wise, because we've set up these characters in Season 1, and bringing in Ahsoka and making her like the main character wouldn't have been a smart move, because you've already fallen in love with a lot of these characters. So Ahsoka initially, as she sends them off on this mission, she tells them, I have to go, and there are questions that need to be answered. She needs to figure things out. Pretty sure she knows that the Sith Lord Darth Vader that they encountered in Siege of Lothal is Anakin Skywalker, but she's going to try to find that definitive answer, that proof that it is indeed him. So she heads off and splits from them, but gives a big warning to Kanan: trust who you see here. Trust my friends that I'm sending you to get. No, and she is fully aware that Kanan has serious issues with clone troopers. But the fact that she doesn't even really tell him they're clone troopers, she has that kind of Jedi way of saying, hey, go do this, but I'm not going to give you all the information, but do what I say. And it's kind of interesting to see that playing out in Rebels, and we've seen it even a little bit in both Clone Wars and Rebels, and so they're very familiar with kind of how the Jedi's acted, and it was pretty cool that she is still playing that Jedi way of doing things. When they encounter Rex, Gregor, Wolf, and after a little bit of talk, the Captain Rex agrees to try to help them, giving them some systems that maybe the Rebels can use for bases and a little information. There's definitely some shiftiness and things going on. They're not really sold, just like the Rebels aren't really sold on these clone troopers, especially Kanan. And there's just a fantastic scene where Ezra's pushing on him. Ezra doesn't understand, like, why these guys helped Ahsoka. We trust Ahsoka. Why are you so confused about it? And Kanan doesn't want to bring it up, and then he does. And he details what we've read in the Kanan comics, and he details that he watched clone troopers kill his master. He watched clone troopers chase him down and try to kill him. And then Rex comes in and says, that wasn't me, that wasn't us. We removed our chips, which is very interesting. And I hope they expound on this in later episodes, because from what was set up in Clone Wars, they treated the Clone Trooper 5s, who figured out about the Order 66 chips in their heads, as kind of just like this crazy nut job that went insane and everything. It'll be interesting to see what led Rex from that point to determining to get rid of the chips. And I hope they really expound on it. And I expect them to expound on it. But that was one of those just really great moments that tells you that Rebels understands its characters. And the depth that Freddie Prinze Jr. brings to Kanan, just the emotion that he has in his voice and everything, it felt like a real, tangible, like, this isn't an animated show. It felt like a real character right in front of me, and that is incredible when a voice actor can bring that. And almost all of them bring that consistently, but in that scene specifically, Freddie Prinze Jr. really sold it. I haven't really talked about Zeb that much so far. I really kind of glossed over him in the Season 1 review, because as a whole, he just is a minor character. He's a team member, but he is a minor character. There's just not a whole lot yet for him. We don't have a huge amount of backstory for him, and just he is a character. But what he does is he brings something that is so human to it, despite being the alien of the crew. He is the one that brings that kind of like everyman aspect to the character, and that's a lot of credit to Steve Bloom and how he voices him. But in this episode, he's basically bait. He's bait for the clones to catch their dinner for basically the rest of the year. And there's a moment where it looks like he's going to be really angry at finding this out, and everyone's happy for him, especially the clones are like, "Thank you, you did this great job," and everything. And he's just like, "Yeah, I wanted to do that all along. That's exactly what I was hoping for, to get eaten." And it's very clever, and Bloom plays it off in Zeb just in a wonderful way. That it's just a great moment, and a moment that is built up, and why I'm so in love with this show. It's just little moments like that can just bring it all as together. A whole. I really enjoyed this episode. Instead, it is a very information full episode. There's a lot of little things picking up, Ahsoka giving information in the beginning. They're trying to figure things out. There's a little back and forth between Hera and Kanan a couple of times. It's really, really great. And I think that relationship is going to continue to grow as we further along in the season. I think we're going to start moving Sabine forward. And so there's just little bits of information here and there. The Empire is coming, and that sets up for the second part of this two-parter. Has a to be continued and moving forward. And what's going to happen as the Empire comes to this planet with the clones. That's going to be really, really interesting going forward and see what they do in that next episode. But as a whole, this episode was really good, and it was a perfect beginning to the season, and it really has set the tone that this is going to be a season of a lot of stuff, a lot of information, and there's going to be some darker paths. And even in a lighter episode, they definitely show that there are some darker things. Kanan, Ezra, the clones, even a little bit of the darkness from it. It's not a perfect episode. I'm not going to say it's one of the great episodes of the show, but it definitely is a good beginning to go forward. So what have you guys thought? Was this the perfect opening, or what are you hoping for going forward? Let me know in the comments below. As always, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I am Shawn Redman, aka the cheesily named Darth Shawn, and may the Force be with you. Always.